back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we got a show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is predicting the East standings for the MLB, so AL East and NL East, then going over to the National League, then going over to the National League and American League Central, then the National League and American League West, then finally topping it off with my playoff predictions. Now, I wanted to do all this because there's not much going on in baseball right now, as it is the All-Star break, and with it officially being the end of the first half going into the second half now, I thought it was fitting to try to predict what the rest of the season would happen and just overall what is going to happen. So, before we do all that, though, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers to ensure that your question does get read on the air. Please do the link at gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so first topic is going to be about the East and just predicting these standings. Now, the reason I separated it to AL and NL East and then AL and NL Central, you get the idea, it's just because I wanted to be able to fully talk about all this. I thought I wouldn't have really enough time to talk about just AL East and NL East, just the American League and the National League, so I did want to split it up into 3 segments instead of 2, and that's the reason I have it split up this way. So first topic will be, of course, about the American League and the National League East, so let's get into it. So we are going to start off with the National League East, and this is just going to be what I think the 5 in the division will be, what the ranking will be, so all that. So we'll start from 5 to 1, so here we go. Number 5, I of course have the Miami Marlins. No surprises here, the Marlins are an awful team this year and are going to continue to get worse at the deadline. Tanner Scott looks like he's locked to be traded. I'd say he's the biggest lock of the entire deadline, and Jazz Chisholm as well looks like he's going to be gone from Miami Marlins uniform. Other than that, they may trade some bullpen arms as well, and just overall, this team is not going to be looking good after the trade deadline and also for the foreseeable future as well. They're currently one of the worst teams in baseball already, and trading everyone of value on this team anyways, I think they're going to continue to get a lot worse, and overall, it's going to be really, really bad right now if you are Marlins fans. So, yeah, it's not going to be great for them, and they're going to continue to get pretty significantly worse, and really no surprises there that they should be 5th here going back into the second half of the season. Number 4, I am going to be having the Washington Nationals. Now, the Nationals aren't a bad team, but I just simply thought there were 3 better teams than them in this division. The Nationals, as I've said multiple times on this show, I really think next year is their year. This year they have a ton of good players, but I really think next year when every single person is up mostly, you get to develop some people, you have money to spend, Patrick Corbin's money is coming off your books, so I think we'll be much better next year. I mean, you're going to have Robert Hassel and Dylan Cruz up in the outfield with James Wood, who's already there. You're going to have a full starting rotation of Mackenzie Gore, Josiah Gray, Jake Irvin, Mitchell Parker, some other guys I'm forgetting as well. So this national team looks like it's going to be really fantastic with the future. But for this year, I don't really foresee anything amazing happening. So I do end up having them here at number 4. But again, bright future. Just I think they got to wait another year for it really to see the fruits of their riches. Number 3, I have, of course, the New York Mets. The Mets have had an incredible just turnaround this season. Started off 22-33, now are 3 games above 500 and in a wild card spot as we speak. So just the turnaround's been fantastic, and I don't really see that stopping in the second half. I think there is a world where the Nationals take over from the Mets, but at the same time, I do think this Mets team is genuinely good, and you'll see where I put them when we have the playoff predictions part of this segment. I think this Mets rotation is very solid. It's going to get better with the ace Kodai Senga coming back. So adding into that rotation, you also have the possibility of calling up one of your top prospects, Brendan Sproat, who is going to come up from the minor leagues at some point this year, I would assume. After that, the lineup is going to continue to slam, in my opinion. I mean, Francisco Alvarez, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Mark Vientos, Harrison Bader, Starling Marte, JD Martinez. I don't really see anyone there that I think is going to have a full drop-off in a way that significantly impacts the team. So overall, I do think that this Mets team is very good, are going to continue to play very good. It'll probably be second in any other division but the NL East just because of how much talent there is in this division, which you'll see with the number 2 and number 1 spots. So number 2, I am going to be having the Atlanta Braves, of course. Now, the Braves are still a very solid team, but of course not as good as we've seen before. The injuries to Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. have really destroyed their depth, in my opinion, and as much as they still are a very good team, they're not as good as we expected. I mean, most people had them first in the NL East by a long shot. I did as well, but it looks to be likely now that they are not going to win the NL East simply because not only of how significant these injuries have been, but also how good the Phillies have been. This Phillies team has been absolutely fantastic, and we'll be talking about them next, of course, but this Braves team is still very good. Just the injuries have really affected them, and the way the Phillies have just consistently been fantastic this entire year, I really do think that it is their time for the Braves to be not fighting for the NL East crown, but for fighting for a wild card spot now. Finally, of course, the number one, it's the Philadelphia Phillies. I said it, but it had to be true with process of elimination, I'd say. So with this Phillies team, every good thing you can say about them, I think, is right. They're just absolutely fantastic. The amount of pitching depth they have is truly incredible. They have 5 above-average starters, which is really hard. They have Taijuan Walker, who's a sixth man in the rotation when everyone's healthy, I'd say, and he's getting paid a ton of money. So that's crazy. The lineup has so many all-stars with JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. Just so many fantastic, fantastic players on this team. And they are truly incredible, having an amazing, amazing year. Everything's finally come together for them, not only in the playoffs, but in the regular season as well. And yeah, just really have an incredible season and have shown already this year, I'd say, that they are the best team in the National League and maybe even the best team in all baseball. So, moving on to the American League East here, we got again starting from 5 to 1 and then going over it. So, number 5 here, we have the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, what a disappointing season this Blue Jays team has had, and to be honest with you, I think it's going to continue. I think they are going to be pretty massive sellers at this deadline, trading everyone with 1 or 2 years left on that contract. Yusei Kikuchi is someone I think is definitely going to be traded. Justin Turner, I would say, as well. I think they try to move off George Springer's contract as well, even though I think his contract's pretty immovable. If they could even go harder and try to trade Kevin Gausman, but I don't think that would be likely, considering he still is a very good pitcher. They could even do the unthinkable and trade Vladdy Jr., which is possible. But overall, I do think that the Blue Jays are heading towards a rebuild. This really disappointing season, I think, has put them in a place they did not want to be at, and that's why they are ended up here at number 5 in this division. Overall, I don't really think they're that bad of a team. I just think that 4 teams are better than them in the AL East because of how good this division is and the way they are trending towards the trade deadline. I do think that it is time for them to kind of blow this team up, blow the score up a little bit, and kind of move on from some players. Number 4, I have the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays, like the Blue Jays, have had a pretty disappointing season and are trending to be sellers for the deadline. The level of what kind of sellers they will be, I think, very much varies. There's a lot of people who think they could absolutely explode this team, trading Randy Arozarena, Isaac Paredes, Pete Fairbanks, one of their big starting pitchers, or they could just trade, guys on 1 or 2 year deals who aren't immediate parts of their future, like a guy like Zach Eflin, Zach Littell as well, and some other guys in the lineup as well that I think aren't exactly major parts of their future. Also like Ahmed Rosario, who both all have value but aren't huge parts of this team that are franchise icons like a Paredes, like an Arozarena. So overall, I just think the Rays were kind of doomed going into this year when you had the whole Wander Franco situation, when you had Shane McClanahan getting hurt, Jeffrey Springs getting hurt at the end of last year. Both will be out the entirety of this year. I just think that it was not a great year for the Rays, and that is why they are going to be 4th in this division. Still a very talented team, but I think there's 3 teams better than them significantly, and unfortunately, with all the injuries and the situations that have happened, I just can't put them any higher than this. Number 3, I have the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox have been one of the most surprising teams of the entire year, and I don't really think it stops in the second half. I do think naturally they are just going to have some regression. I don't think guys on their team are going to have as great a first half as they had, but I also think they're still going to be good. Like Tanner Houck, I don't think he's going to continue the amazing season he's having, but I still think he's going to end up being a very solid, good player for this Red Sox team, so I don't think it would exactly be so crazy. So, I do expect some regression, but overall, I do think this is a very solid team. I think Connor Wong's here to stay. I think Jaron Durant is going to be a good player. You, of course, have Rafi Devers on this offense as well. Dom Smith proven to be a viable replacement, where Willie Abreu has been very solid out there in the outfield in his rookie season. So now Rafael has also been very solid whenever position he plays. So overall, this Red Sox team still has a ton of talent, and even though I do expect some regression, I think they'll still end up being a very solid team. 2, I'm going to be having the New York Yankees. Of course, 2-1, we all knew it was either going to be the Orioles or the Yankees. I did end up picking the Yankees, but because I do think they have more flaws than the Orioles, simply put. I think the Yankees have to get, if they really want to compete, really want to win a World Series, I'd honestly say they have to get 2 infielders and 2 relief pitchers. I just don't know if that's going to happen. And the lineup depth on them is really a question mark. And I think their pitching, with the injuries that have happened, is continuing to get a little worse. So overall, I still think this Yankees team is fantastic because they have Aaron Judge, they have Juan Soto, they have Garrett Cole. But the core around those guys is a question mark, and it is something I'm going to be watching for the rest of the season. Finally, in first place, of course, the Baltimore Orioles. Obviously the Orioles are going to be in first place. The Yankees were in second place, and the Orioles team is absolutely fantastic. They have a really great frontline starters, a really fantastic bullpen, a really great lineup, and just a fantastic team that, of course, is going to be at the top of the AL East. So, recapping this, for the NL East, I have the Philadelphia Phillies at 1, the Atlanta Braves 2, Mets 3rd, Nationals 4th, Marlins 5th, American League East, Orioles 1, Yankees 2, Red Sox 3, Rays 4, Blue Jays 5. That is the first segment here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about some Central standings predictions. And just going over that, doing the American League Central and the National League Central, which we, of course, just did for the East, but American League and National League, of course. So, talk about that, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about the Central and some standing predictions there. We just did the National League and we just did the East part of it, and we're now doing the Central, so predicting the standings at the end of the year for the American League and the National League Central. But before we do all that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read on the air, please use the link, gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so of course we'll be going down from 5 to 1, counting down what I believe will be the American League and the National League Central at the end of the year. And hopefully I'm right at the end of the year, and we'll be able to go over that as well. So starting off in the National League, I am going to be starting again from 5 to 1. In the National League Central, I do want to say was hard. I don't think any of these teams are bad necessarily, so I want you to keep that in mind if you are a fan of a team. Mainly the team at number 5. I don't think your team is bad. I just think there's 4 teams better than them. And starting off at number 5, I have the Chicago Cubs. Now, I want to make it clear again, I don't think the Cubs are a bad team. I just think they are in a very, very good division, and honestly, things have not gone their way this year. I expect them to be sellers at the deadline. I don't really know who they can sell. I mean, maybe Bellinger, but he just got hurt, so I'm not exactly sure if that can happen. I mean, maybe they trade Jamison Tyone, but he's like 2.5 years left in his contract, so I'm not really sure if that would make any sense. So the Cubs are just an interesting team. I mean, just really nothing has gone right for them this year. The offense has underperformed. The bullpen has underperformed. The rotation has underperformed. Just overall, I just don't think it's their year. Craig Counsell has really not been as big of a presence as I think the Cubs expected him to be. And I just think, again, it's really just not their year. I think that happens with a lot of teams. And I think just gear up towards next year. And, just look at this year as kind of a lost year and kind of build towards the future. It's a great free agent class in the offseason. You have a ton of money. I don't know any player that wouldn't want to come to Wrigley if you offer them the right money. I think Juan Soto, honestly, is a perfect fit there. I've talked about him on the show, and in the end, because I do think it's going to end up being 3 teams in the services for Juan Soto, which is going to be the Cubs, Mets, and Yankees. I think those 3 teams have a better shot than anyone. So I think maybe you look to sign someone like that. But just for this year, again, just not their year. Not there to compete, and that's why I do have them in last place here. But still, not a bad team. Just things didn't go their way. 4, I have the Cincinnati Reds. Like the Cubs, the Reds, it just was not their year, really, from the beginning. Once Matt McClain and Noelvi Marte both went down for a significant amount of time for different reasons, the team I thought would end up winning the division, I was like, okay, you know what? it's kind of it for this year. I still think they have a really nice core to build around. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo are a great top two of that rotation. Chase Petty should be up soon. Chase Burns, who you just drafted, should be up soon as well. The offense, of course, fantastic. I mean, you have like 8 or 9 genuinely very good young bats. Reese Hines is now a monster. Apparently, he came out of nowhere, so he's adding into that core. So, Reds, like the Cubs, have a very good future. I would argue the Reds have a better future. And if everyone's healthy next year, I would not be surprised to see them win this division. And overall, I love this team. I think there's a lot going for them. Just again, was just not their year, and things did not go their way. That's kind of it. Third place, I have the St. Louis Cardinals for the National League. Now, Central, sorry. Now, for the Cardinals, overall, I think this is a very solid team, to be perfectly honest with you. I just don't think they're going to add enough at the deadline or have enough to be as good as they can be. I think their bullpen is fantastic. It's really one of the best in the league. I mean, if your pitcher gives you 5 or 6 very good innings of 1 run or less, which I don't think is a crazy ask to ask, by the way, only 5-6 innings, I think you win that game. You have Andrew Kitteridge, you have Jojo Romero, you have Ryan Thompson, Ryan Fernandez, and then Ryan Helsley. I don't know I think 2 of those Ryans I said were right. I don't know if one of them was. But overall, I think the back end of that bullpen is absolutely fantastic. And you have a great ace in Sonny Gray, but after that, I don't think there's much. I think the offense hasn't performed up to the standards you'd like these past few years as well. The rotation, again, after Sonny Gray, I don't find much to like about it. So as much as I like this Cardinals team, I don't think they're going to add enough at the deadline because they haven't really in these past few years to be able to continue to be a genuinely good team. And I think this NL Central, because of all the good teams they have, it's really kind of a crapshoot. And I just think at this point the Cardinals are going to be in third place. Now at second place, maybe a hot take, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates. I've talked about my love for this team, and I think they've really become the darling of baseball since Paul Skeens came up, and I like them a lot. I think this top 3 of Jones, Keller, and Skeens is absolutely fantastic. Will continue progressing throughout this year, especially Skeens, who I think will get better and better. And I think the offense is going to acquire some pieces as well. Brian Reynolds is really good. Andrew McCutcheon is going to get it going at some point. Connor Joe's been a very solid player. I think Jack Swinsky at some point is going to be very good. I think there are people within their farm system that can be called up for this year. They have the trade capital to be able to trade for some kind of major league bats. So overall, I like this Pirates team a lot. I think they end up finishing second in the NL Central, and overall, I think they're a very good team with a very good future, and they're going to be scary next year when they have money to spend and everyone's fully developed. Very, very scary. First place, I of course had the Milwaukee Brewers. No surprises here. They've been first all year in the NL Central, and I believe they're going to continue to be in first. I think they are an absolutely fantastic, fantastic team. They have a ton of lineup depth that I really did not expect from them going into this year. Rhys Hoskins, Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio, William Contreras, Sal Frelick, all mentions of guys who have been very, very good parts of this team for them. The problem with them is the pitching, and I do think it is going to end up being a problem with them going into the playoffs, but the regular season, I do think that they'll be okay. Again, Freddie Peralta can hold it down. I'm not sure if Brendan Woodruff will be back at some point, if DL Hall, Robert Gasser will be. I assume not, but still. I think they're going to have to acquire some starting pitching depth, and I think they will be able to. And overall, I think this lineup depth is really nice. Their bullpen is, of course, always great, and Devin Williams is coming back soon as well, which should really, really help. So, overall, really great team, and I have them at the top of the NL Central, like they've been for the entirety of the year. AL, I have at number 5, going into the American League Central now, sorry. I have at the 5th place position the Chicago White Sox. Not going to spend too much time on the White Sox. One of the worst teams I've watched with my own eyes. Absolutely horrific. Just an awful, awful team. They have really no good parts about them. And if they do have good parts about them, they'll surely be traded by August 1st. So, yeah, this White Sox team is awful. It's really, really bad. And that's why I have them here at 5th in the AL Central. 4th place, I have the Detroit Tigers. I think the Tigers are a very solid team, but I think they're going to trade some people at the deadline. And I just don't think their offense is going to be at the pace that we expect them to be. It'll be interesting to see if they trade Tarek Skubal. I don't think they should, but that's a conversation for a different day. It's going to be, I can guarantee you that'll be a segment next week. Guarantee that. So, with the Tigers team, they just don't have enough offense to sustain a winning team, and it's shown this year because they have been in 4th place really the entire year. Jack Flaherty, Tarek Skubal is a great 1-2 punch, but Flaherty is going to be gone by the deadline. We don't know if Skubal will be, and even if Skubal isn't, he's going to be the only person out of the rotation. And, I mean, Reese Olson's pretty good. I'll give him credit on that. But just the Tigers do not have enough offense to sustain a winning team. and that's got to be something they fix going into the rest of their future. 3, I have the Kansas City Royals. I really like this Royals team. I just think the 2 teams above them are very good and better. This Royals team has a ton of great pitching depth. I mean, their rotation is arguably the best in the American League. Cole Reagans, Brady Singer, Seth Lugo, incredible top 3. Michael Walker's proven to be a reliable backhand arm. So overall, this Royals team is really, really good, and I like them a lot. I think they need to add some pieces to the offense, especially to the bullpen as well. I think I mentioned this a few times on the show. I'll continue to. I think Tanner Scott of the Marlins is a picture-perfect fit with this Royals team. So overall, very, very solid team. Just, I think the 2 teams above them are better, and it's kind of just in a situation where you're very good, but not as good. It's kind of unfortunate for them. Second place now, I have the Cleveland Guardians. Yes, I do not have the Guardians at first. I do not believe they will win this division. Let me explain why. I think the Guardians are a fantastic team, and spoiler alert, I still have them in the playoffs, but we talk about that in the 4th and 5th segments. But to continue with this, I think the Guardians are a very good team. I just don't think they're this good. And I think at some point they are going to regress. Players aren't going to continue playing as good as they are right now. And I think it is going to catch up with them at some point. I still think they're a very good team. It's just, do I really expect David Fry to continue to play as well as he has? Not really. I mean, do I still expect some of these guys that have been on their offense to be as good as they have been? I just don't think so. I think their pitching depth as well is going to finally start to show some cracks. They didn't do the greatest heading into the All-Star break as well. I mean, they were 4-6 in their last 10, which obviously isn't horrible, but it is something I think you have to look at. So their bullpen is fantastic. Their offense is a lot of good pieces, but I do think some of those pieces are going to start to regress. And I think overall the lack of pitching depth they have is going to end up becoming an equation. Is going to end up becoming a problem within their team at some point. So I think they're a very good team still. I just don't think they're going to continue being this good. And I overall do think that the Twins, who I have at number 1, of course, are a better team and are going to continue to get better. I think once they get healthy, once Brooks Lee continues to develop, this offense is going to be absolutely brutal to face. I think they are going to acquire a starting pitcher. I heard them today connected to Yusei Kikuchi, who I think will be a really great fit. We heard them today connected to some rental starters. So I think they have the willingness to add. I think they will add. And I think overall, this team has a ton of good pieces. I thought they were the best team heading into the AL Central going into this year. I'm going to continue to stay with that belief, and I think they do end up winning this division. I'm sure Guardians fans won't like that, but sorry. I still think your team is very good, just not as good. So, recapping this again for the Central standings predictions, we have in the NL, Brewers in first place, Pirates in second place, Cardinals in third place, Reds in fourth place, Cubs in fifth place. For the American League, Twins in first place, Guardians in second place, Royals in third place, Tigers in fourth place, White Sox in fifth place. So yeah, that is our second segment here, going over the American League and National League and for the Central Division and just going over their standings and predicting it. Going into our third segment now, which is going to be talking about, of course, the West, doing the same thing we just did for the first two, going over the American League West, the National League West, and predicting those standings. So yeah, going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about the West and just going over some standing predictions there. We just did this for the first and second segments as well, which is just going to be going over the National League West and predicting those standings, and the American League West and predicting those standings as well. So yeah, we'll be going into that, and let's get into it. So first off, starting with the National League West, like we've done before, we'll be going 5-1 and doing the same for both. So yeah, Starting off at the 5th place position for the National League West, I have, of course, the Colorado Rockies. No surprises here. Not going to spend too much time on them. The Rockies are an awful, awful team. They are horrible. They had Ryan McMahon, and that's kind of it. Charlie Condon, I don't know when he'll be up, but he might have to be the savior of the franchise. They do have some good pieces, I will say, like Ezekiel Tovar, Adel Amador, but they won't be out of this basement for a little while, and with all the great teams in this division, I do end up having them here in the 5th place position. 4th place, I have, unfortunately for me, the San Francisco Giants. I talked a lot about how much I liked this Giants team and how good I thought they were. So you may be wondering, well, why are they in 4th place? The reason they're in 4th place is I just think there's so many good teams in this division that I don't have anywhere else to put them. It's really a problem how good this NL West is. I like this Giants team a lot. I really do. I think the offense has been much better the second half. Iliad Ramos has been a breakout candidate and made the All-Star game for crying out loud. Mike Conforto has been very good. Lamont Wade, Patrick Bailey, all been positive contributors. The rotation's getting a ton of guys off the IL. Blake Snell's looked much better as of recently. Just the problem is, I think there are better teams in the West. And I think that these better teams are going to finish above them. I like this Giants team a lot. If I was them, I would buy. I think they have a very good chance of proving me wrong, getting in 2nd or 3rd place in this division. I just think that it's very close, and I think the teams above them are better. Again, I like this Giants team a lot. I just can't put them above these two teams. I'm sure you know who these two teams are. Now, I'm sure you don't know what order that I put them in, but I'm sure you know what these two teams are. So, at 3rd place, like I said, we know it's going to either be the Padres or the Diamondbacks in 3rd place now, because I'm having the Dodgers in 1st place. Obviously, we all know that. So, in 3rd place, I am going to be having the San Diego Padres. So, this Padres team is very good, but I do see some cracks in their foundation as of recently. Yu Darvish, that injury, I don't really know what to call it an injury. It's a family situation. He's been placed on the restricted list. Of course, all goes out to him. Obviously, I hope everything is okay, but we have to look at it as baseball-wise as well. He is out for He is out for an indefinite amount of time, according to the Padres, which could mean he's out for another week or he's out for the entire rest of the year. So there's a lot to think about with that. Joe Musgrove's been around at the injured list the entire year, and you do have some other great starting pitchers as well. Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez are good depth arms. Matt Waldron, Dylan Cease are very good. But the thing is, you do need to acquire another starting pitcher, and the offense as well. While it's very good, is that enough to keep you up in this playoff picture? Now, they were honestly the team. I'm not going to spoil that for the last segment, but I think this Padres team is very good. And as much as there is a crack in their foundation, I still do like the foundation. I still do like what is there. Musgrove, whenever he stops getting on and off the injured list, I think will end up being a very good contributor. Cease has been a great player since coming over there. Matt Waldron, of course, with that knuckleball, is a very funky guy. Their lineup has a ton of good talent. I mean, their entire outfield made the All-Star game. Literally, Jackson Merrill, Jurickson Profar, Fernando Tatis all made the All-Star game, which was crazy. You, of course, have a really nice infield with Ha-Seong Kim, Manny Machado. Xander Bogaerts should come back rather soon, I'd say, actually. Luis Arias is, of course, very good. Jake Cronenworth. So this Padres team is very good. It's just I couldn't put them above the teams in 2nd and 1st, who I'm sure you know who they are. In 2nd, obviously, I have the Diamondbacks now. I've talked about my love for this Diamondbacks team on this show many times before, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. I love this Diamondbacks team, and I think they are one of the most underrated teams in baseball. I think when healthy, they arguably are the 3rd best team in the entire league. I had them as that going into this year, and as much as that has changed, obviously because of teams performing better than I thought they would, Guardians, teams like that, they still are a fantastic team. When this starting rotation is healthy, it is deadly. You are going to be having Jordan Montgomery, Zach Gallen, Eduardo Rodriguez, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, all in one rotation. That's crazy. Your offense is going to be with stars like Gabby Moreno, Christian Walker, who's having an incredible season, who should have been an All-Star, Ketel Marte, who started the All-Star game. Jordan Lawler will come up eventually, I'd say. Corbin Carroll will get off the schneid and continue and perform like the way we expected him to. So this bullpen also has some issues, but I think is very good, has a very good core of it. So overall, I think this Diamondbacks team is absolutely fantastic. That's why I have them here at the 2nd place position, and we'll talk about them in the playoff picture later. But I love this Diamondbacks team, and I think they're going to be a problem when they're fully healthy. And I think when they get fully healthy, not going to be many teams better than them, and that's why I do have them here at the 2nd place position. 1st place, I of course have the Los Angeles Dodgers. no surprises whatsoever that the Dodgers team is in first place. It's the Dodgers, right? I mean, what are you going to say about the Dodgers team, right? The amount of star power they have is incredible. Once Yamamoto and Betts come back, they'll just run away with this division. And I think the chances of them not winning this division are very low. It's possible, but very low. And again, the Dodgers team is absolutely fantastic. I don't really see a reason how they wouldn't be in first. And yeah, I mean, again, no real need to go into a full, all-out essay here about how good the Dodgers are. We know. So going now to the American League West. This should be fun. What I talk about here. I don't know if some of you guys are going to agree with me, but let me know in the comments. So starting off in fifth place in the American League West is of course the A's. The A's are awful. I'm not sure if Mason Miller and Brent Rooker, who are the only two good players on this team, are going to be on the team by August 1st. We'll have to see. Again, I can guarantee that should the A's trade Mason Miller, will be a segment in the future, probably next week, so we'll be going over that. But this A's team is awful. They have two really good players. Not sure if they'll be on the team by August 1st. And yeah, I have them fifth place in the American League West. The Angels are fourth as well. Again, no surprise here. They are bad. Trout's coming back, I think, soon actually, but I still think they're absolutely awful. Really no part to this team that I find attractive. And yeah, they're really, really bad. I have them in fourth place, obviously. Now we get to the fun stuff. Top three. Where am I going to place the Rangers, Mariners, Astros in the top three? Well, at 3, I have the Texas Rangers. Now, it remains to be seen if the Rangers will be sellers at the deadline or not. Even if they are or they aren't, I do think they'll end up finishing in third place. I just think the injuries this year were too much to deal with. You had Max Scherzer, Tyler Mahle, and Jacob deGrom all on the injured list at the start of this year. Then you added in Wyatt Langford, then Evan Carter, Josh Young as well. And I just think the injuries this year were too much for them to handle. And that's why I do have them third. Even if they do buy, I just don't think they'll be better than the Astros and Mariners. I just think both those teams are very, very good. And that's why I do have them above them, of course. In what order, we'll have to see. But I still think this Rangers team is very good. It's just, again, this year was not their year with the injuries they've had. It's possible they get much better in the second half and end up finishing in second or first place, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And overall, I have the Rangers here at third. So, second place and first place. Who am I going to have? Now, I know people are going to be mad at this selection, and I don't apologize because I think it's right, but I am going to be having the Seattle Mariners in second place, not first place. Now let me explain why. So obviously we know what that means for who's in first place, but I'll get to that in a moment. For the Seattle Mariners, I think they're a very good team. I just think the team above them, we can say it, the Astros are better than them. The Mariners have a ton of talent on this pitching staff. I think there is no more dangerous team in the playoffs in the American League, honestly, than the Seattle Mariners. Because pitching is what matters. And Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, Emerson Hancock, Luis Castillo, many other arms I'm sure I'm forgetting for this team are killer with this team. And just the amount of depth and star power and just good players on this team for the Mariners are absolutely incredible. And, the lineup isn't great, yes, but I think it'll get better. I think Julio's going to get better. I think Mitch Garver's going to get better. I think Jorge Polanco's going to get better. I think this overall team is going to get better, and I do think they're very good. It's just I couldn't put them above, of course, the team in first place, the Houston Astros. Now, with this Astros team, they've been the best team in baseball since June, and as much as they've started off horrible for this entire year, I do think that in the end, they'll reign supreme of the division once again, and will finish in first place. Things are looking much better in Houston. Obviously, Justin Verlander has come back and become a real force in that rotation. Hunter Brown is finally becoming the player they expect him to be. Framber Valdez has done great. So the rotation is finally becoming one. They have the chance to add a starting pitcher at the deadline, and with the way they've been aggressive in the offseason and the trade deadline in years past, looking at last year as well, I think they'll do it. Jack Flaherty is a name I would look out for. When I make my trade deadline predictions, hint, maybe we'll see him go there. We'll see. But I think they have the prospect capital to do it. I think this Astros team overall still has an insane amount of talent. The offensive talent they possess on their team is just insane, with guys like Jordan Alvarez, Cal Tucker, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Alec Bregman. It's incredible the amount of talent they have, and I think that in the end they'll end up reigning the AL West once again, and winning this division, as much as people won't like it. I do think that's what is going to end up happening. So, recapping this now, for the National League West, I had in first place the Los Angeles Dodgers, second place the Arizona Diamondbacks, third place the San Diego Padres, fourth place San Francisco Giants, and fifth place the Colorado Rockies. American League West, I had in first place the Houston Astros, second place the Seattle Mariners, third place the Texas Rangers, fourth place the Los Angeles Angels, and fifth place the Oakland A's. So, going into our fourth segment now, which is going to be talking about the playoff predictions. Obviously, this will, of course, tie into my standings predictions, because, obviously that's how you make the playoffs. So, we talk about that, and we'll be going over it after the break. So, thanks, and bye. Here we go.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Hi, I just realized I was talking and no one could hear me because I didn't turn my mic back on after going to the break. So that's really nice. But anyways, we'll be going into our fourth segment here, which is going to be talking about the American League and some playoff predictions involving it. So, yeah, obviously just went over the entire standings of the American League and the National League. So now in the fourth and fifth segments, we'll be going over the predictions for the playoffs, what the seeds are and all that. So let's get into it. So, for the first seed in the American League, I am going to be having the Baltimore Orioles. Not really a surprise here right now. I think they are currently the best team in the American League. I think whoever wins the AL East will end up being the first seed, and we'll get that bye. So, yeah, I think overall the Orioles make a lot of sense for this. I had them winning the AL East, of course, and I do think that they are going to end up being the first seed in this American League East. And this American League, not just East, obviously. Second place, I'm going to be having the Houston Astros. Now, yes, I have the Astros winning the division. If you want to hear me talk about it more, it's in my third segment, which of course is on this YouTube channel as well, if you're watching this after the live stream. And yeah, I think the Astros will end up winning this division, and I think they'll end up being the second seed in the American League. And if this does happen, which of course I think it will, it'll be an incredible, incredible story for this year. Just the Astros going from a team that was maybe the worst in the American League at one point, significantly into the season as well. Not like we were just 2 weeks in and they were the worst. No, it was like a month or two in. They were one of the worst teams in the American League. People were talking about trading Kyle Tucker, trading Framber Valdez. Like, they were talking about the dynasty being over, and just the way that they would be able to rebound in this fictitious scenario that I made up in my head and to be second place, I think will be really, really good and just an incredible story. But yeah, I think this Astros team is really good, and I do have them here in second place. Third place, I am going to be having the AL Central winner, of course, the Minnesota Twins. Yes, I have the Twins above the Guardians. If you want to go over that, that is my segment 2 here on this show. So again, if you're watching live, you're on the live stream. If you're not, you're watching on YouTube. It's on the YouTube channel going over the Central standing predictions. So yeah, but yeah, obviously I think they're a little worse than both the Astros and the Orioles, but they won the division, so they have to be one of the top 3 seeds. So I do have them here at third. I don't think they get the bye, which would be unfortunate for them, but that's how it goes, right? Now, the wild card seeds are where it gets interesting. If I don't have your team in here, I apologize, and I'll explain why. But for the 4th seed, I'm going to be having, of course, the New York Yankees. I think it's obvious that either the Orioles or the Yankees are going to end up being the 4th seed. Whoever doesn't win the AL East will be the top wild card seed, and that's what I have here with the Yankees. So no surprises here. A great team, and yeah, I have them here at 4th. 5th place, I have the Cleveland Guardians. So yes, even though I don't have them winning the American League Central, I do have them still as a playoff team. Again, I think the pitching depth is just going to become such an issue for them that this is what's going to happen to them, but I still think they do end up making the playoffs, and I think that overall they'll still end up becoming a really good team for this year. And in the 6th place position, I was down to 3 teams for it: the Kansas City Royals, the Boston Red Sox, and the Seattle Mariners. But I did end up picking the Mariners to go to the playoffs. Now, I think both the Royals and the Red Sox are very good, think both are going to have a great season and continue their dominance in the second half, but I do think that the Mariners are going to end up being the final wildcard seed here, just because I think their offense is going to get a lot better, and I think overall their pitching is so good. And I talked about them being the most dangerous team in the playoffs if they make it, and I still stand by that. I'll go over my predictions after this as well for the seeds and who wins the pennant, but overall, I have the Mariners here as the 6th seed. I wanted to include the Royals and Red Sox really, really badly, but I couldn't find a spot, and I do have them out of the playoff picture for this year. Both, I think, are going to be very, very good for the future, though. So, first wildcard game, we have the 3-seeded Twins versus 6-seeded Mariners. I talked about them. I think the Mariners move on. I think in a 3-game series, having the frontline starting pitchers they have in Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo will just be unbeatable, and I think their offense is going to continue to do well. And if they even score 2 or 3 runs, I really think the game is over for them. So, yeah, I think this Mariners team ends up getting the upset and defeating the 3-seeded Twins to move on to the second round of this playoffs. And for the other wildcard spot, 4 Yankees versus 5 Guardians, I had the Yankees winning. Unfortunate way for the Guardian season end in this universe, but overall, I think this Yankees team just is going to have more pitching depth than them. Clark Schmidt's coming back as well, which really add in. So, as much as the Guardians' offense is elite, I think the Yankees having home field advantage for all 3 games, and then also having some good starting pitching depth the Guardians simply don't have, will end up being the reason why they win this series. So next, we are going to be having the 2-seeded Astros versus 6-seeded Mariners. Mariners, of course, move on to the second round after beating the Twins, and this is where it got hard for me. I wanted to pick the Mariners to go to the World Series, to be honest with you. That's how much I like the pitching depth they have. But to be honest with you, if they would have played any other team but the Astros in this playoffs, they would have made it. But I think because of the AL West connection, because of the experience the Astros have, because of how good I think they are, I do think the Astros end up winning this series, and I think the Astros move on to the American League Championship Series. What a story that would be, and the Mariners' season does come to an end here, but still, fantastic team I think they have, and if they do make it past this in real life, I would not be surprised one bit with the pitching they have. I feel like I've talked about the Mariners pitching so much during this episode, but hey, it's true, right? Next, we have the 1-seeded Orioles versus the 5-seeded Yankees. This 4-seeded Yankees, this was so tough. I didn't know what to pick here for this. I mean, obviously, AL East rivals, 2 teams that have been fighting all year for first place, but this for one reason, I went with the Orioles over the Yankees. Now, I thought the Yankees had a lot more advantages than the Orioles, simply put. The Yankees, I thought, had better pitching depth, and I thought had more experience. But the Orioles are home, and they have better frontline starters. And what I mean by that is Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez. I think both are absolutely fantastic, and the way I think, as long as they get those guys in more than one game, I think they'll be fine. I think it probably goes to 6 or 7 games, to be perfectly honest. But overall, I think Division Series only go to 5, so I think it'll go to 4 or 5, actually. But overall, I think just the way that they have Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez in a 5-game series, where their offense, in my opinion, is significantly better than them, I think that the offense and the pitching factors outweigh what the Yankees have better than them. So I do have the Orioles winning this series, and I do have them advancing to the American League Championship Series versus the Houston Astros. Now, this was so hard for me to pick the Astros or the Orioles. I did end up going, though, with the Houston Astros to make the World Series once again, just because of the experience they have. Now, what a turnaround this Astros team would have if they end up making the World Series, man. That would be crazy. And unfortunately for baseball fans, because I like seeing madness, I like seeing teams who we don't really usually get to be in the World Series, but I do think the Astros are going to make it again. I just think it's written in the stars, and I don't think they're going anywhere else. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think the dynasty is over, like some people said. They have their flaws, but I couldn't find a flawless team in the AL playoff picture this year, and that's the reason I have the Astros going to the World Series. It was very tough between them and the Orioles, but overall, I did end up picking the Astros to win. Now, going back over the American League playoff predictions, once again, just to summarize, I had the Orioles as the 1 seed, the Astros as the 2 seed, Twins as the 3 seed, Yankees as the 4 seed, Guardians as the 5 seed, Mariners as the 5th seed, then the Astros and Orioles going to the American League Championship Series, and the Astros winning. Now, I want to mention the Red Sox and the Royals again, just for clarification. I think both these teams are very good. I think both have similar skill sets to all three teams: Mariners, Royals, and Red Sox, which is very good pitching. But I thought the Mariners pitching was better, and I thought the Mariners offense would be much better in the second half, which is the reason why I did end up having them above. They also have the record advantage. They are better than both these teams right now currently, as they are in first place in the AL West, only by a game above the Astros, which is why I think the Astros are going to end up winning. But they have the record advantage. I think the offense can be much better in the second half, and that's why I do have them there. So I wanted to include those teams, but I couldn't. So yeah, in this universe, I have the Astros going to the World Series. So yeah, we'll be doing this, but for the NL for the next segment. So yeah, you just saw it, and we're doing it there. So yeah, we'll be seeing you after the break, and we'll talk about it then. So thanks, and bye. See you then after to the fifth and final segment. Thanks, and bye. And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fifth and final segment here today, which is going to be talking about the National League and my playoff predictions for them. We, of course, just did the American League, so now we'll be finishing our show off today, which is full of predictions. If you want to catch those, really watch the live stream if you want, or, of course, I'll be posting these videos later tonight, and you can watch them as well as individual segments. But we did all kinds of playoff predictions. We all did all kinds of predictions today, going over all the standings, and then the playoffs of the American League. So we'll now be finishing off with the National League. So, yeah. Going over all the seeds I have, going over why I had these teams in specific order, playoffs and all that. So yeah, we'll be getting into that. And yeah, so in first place in the National League is the one seed I have, of course, the Philadelphia Phillies. I was debating it between them and the Dodgers, but I just think the lead the Phillies have right now above them is just going to continue to propel them into the second half. I think they're going to continue to be just great, and as much as the Dodgers team is very good, I think this Phillies team is going to continue to be very, very good and end up becoming the first seed for the NL. Second place, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers. Again, I was between them and the Phillies. I think right now both of them have proven to be the class of the NL for this year. Both have been absolutely incredible. And yeah, I think both are right now the two best teams in the NL. And I think both are going to continue to win their divisions. So yeah, there we go. Third place, I have, of course, the Milwaukee Brewers. I had them winning the NL Central. But obviously I didn't have them first, second, because I had the Phillies and Dodgers there. So of course the Brewers had to be third place here for the NL Central, for the NL playoff predictions. So now we're getting into the wild card seeds, which should be very fun. Now, fourth, I have the Braves. I don't think that's a shocker to anyone. I want to get that out of the way. The Braves are a very good team, one of the best teams in the entire league. Would probably win any other division. Would probably win the NL Central. I don't think they'd win the West or the East this year, actually, but with the injuries they've had, still a fantastic team, and I do have them here at fourth. Now, fifth and sixth is where I had a lot of trouble. Now, there are so many teams I consider for this because there are so many teams right now in the run for the playoffs. I mean, there are just so many teams that have a genuine chance to make the wild card. I want to go over them, okay? So, we have, of course, the Cardinals, the Mets, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Pirates, the Reds, and the Giants. You could also add the Cubs and Nationals in there. I did. That's 6 teams that have a genuine chance. Yeah, 6 teams that have a genuine chance to end up going to the playoffs as a wildcard seed. A real chance. Like, I would say it's a very good chance in any other year. It's just there are so many teams like that I had to leave, of course, 4 of them out because only 2 of them can make it. That's obviously how baseball works. Thank you, Sam. So, with this, 3 teams immediately stood out to me. Now, I want to mention that the 4 other teams, actually, it's 7, that I did not mention, I still think are very good, but I thought the 3 teams I'm going to mention here are better. So, the 3 teams I thought stood out to me more for these 2 seeds were the Mets, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres. I thought those 3 teams were better than the other teams, even though the Cardinals, of course, are in the playoffs as the 2nd seed right now. I did not have them in this group of 3. So I narrowed it down to these 3 to make it to the 2 spots. Now, of course, from these 3, I can only pick 2, so 1 would have to be left out. And what I did end up going with was the 5 seed as the Arizona Diamondbacks and the 6 seed as the New York Mets. Now, I left the Padres out because I just simply think the Mets and Diamondbacks are better. There's no crazy reason. I don't think the Padres are bad. I just think, simply put, the Diamondbacks and Mets are better teams, and I think they'll make the playoffs. I think the Giants are a great team. I think the Pirates have become a really good team. I think the Reds, honestly, are a good team. It's just, I think the Cardinals as well are a very good team. I've mentioned these teams, but I just think that with everything going on this year, with the teams you had to pick, I think the Mets and the Diamondbacks have the edges, and I picked them. So, going to the playoffs now, it is going to be the 3-seeded Brewers versus the 6-seeded Mets. I have the Mets taking the upset. I think, simply put, the Mets have more pitching depth than the Brewers, and even though the Brewers are home for all 3 games, David Stearns has connection to that organization. I'm sure he'll know what some kind of strategies they'll have for the playoffs. Again, I think a top 3 of Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, and Luis Severino, with how they played this year, of course, I'm assuming Senga will be good coming back, will be very hard for the Brewers to beat because they really only have 1 good starting pitcher, in my opinion, which is Freddie Peralta. Now, they could add someone significant, but we'll have to see. So, overall, I think that the Mets are going to end up winning the series, but I do think it'll be in 3, and I think it'll be close. I think it was very hard for me to choose, but I did end up going with the Mets. You could say that's biased because, again, I'm a Mets fan. I never try to hide that, but I don't think so. For the next one, we have the 4-seeded Braves versus 5-seeded Diamondbacks. This one was easy to me. I'm picking the Diamondbacks. I think the Diamondbacks, simply put, just have a lot better pitching depth than the Braves. I really don't think that Reynaldo Lopez, Chris Sale are going to continue to be as good as they are, and I think the Diamondbacks, with the pitching depth they have, with the offense they have, are going to win this series. And yeah, it really wasn't even a decision for me, so I do have them going on. So we now have the 1-seeded Phillies versus the 5-seeded Diamondbacks in the National League Division Series. Obviously, I have the Phillies winning. Sorry, Diamondbacks. I really like you guys. I've talked about it many times, but I have the Phillies winning, getting their revenge this time with the Diamondbacks. Of course, they lost last year in the National League Championship Series to them. I just think this Phillies team is too good, and with the pitching that they have, with how good their offense is, I think they're going to win. Then, the 2-seeded Dodgers versus the 6-seeded Mets. This is where I have the Mets losing. I am not crazy enough as a Mets fan to have them beating the Dodgers in a playoff series. Sorry, I think the Dodgers are a much better team, and I do think they end up winning this game. Now, the NL Championship Series. Phillies versus Dodgers. Very hard for me to decide. But I did go with the Philadelphia Phillies. And the reason I went with the Phillies is I think they have the better offense, and I think overall they have the better pitching staff. I just think in a 7-game series especially, facing Zach Wheeler, then facing Ranger Suarez, then facing Aaron Nola, then facing Christopher Sanchez, then facing Spencer Turnbull or Taijuan Walker, or even Zach Wheeler again if you skip the 5 spot, is too much to handle. And then you have to face a lineup that includes JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, and then maybe a corner outfielder they'll add in the trade deadline as well. I just think this Phillies team if they don't win it this year, they'll never win it. I just think they're absolutely incredible this year, the way this team is performing. And I have them going to the World Series, of course, versus the Houston Astros. The matchup of the 2022 World Series. And, who do I think now wins the World Series is the question. Of course, if you want to see me predict the Astros to go to the World Series, that was in my American League playoff predictions video, which, again, if you're watching on live stream, you can fast forward to the last segment, or if you're watching on YouTube, these YouTube videos, the individual segments I uploaded, you can go watch that. I have the Phillies getting their revenge and winning the World Series. Now, again, everything I said with the Dodgers about a 7-game series, I think stands true for this. I will be perfectly honest with you guys. I hate the Phillies. I'm a Mets fan my entire life. I'm a New Yorker my entire life. I'm not too fond of Philadelphia, as a matter of fact, as well. I don't think New Yorkers can be. But just as a pure baseball fan, as an observer, this Phillies team is incredible. The amount of talent they have on this team is insane. The pitching staff is incredible, and that's why I do have them. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I think they'll win the World Series this year, and that's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. Believe me, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Mets win. I really hope the Mets win. Can the Mets do something in my lifetime, please? It's been almost 10 years now. So I think the Phillies will win, unfortunately, but I think the Astros will give them a chance. I think it's either 6 or 7, but it was very hard, and I had the Phillies winning. So that is my show for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe to the notification bell so now you get notified when I upload, what all the other great content creators on this channel do. Today's show was very intact with each other. Like everything was, everything was connected, I'd say. So if you want to, if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on live stream, again, if you want to watch that, reverse or watch the videos. If you're listening on audio, none of this means anything to you. So I'm just yapping on and on. So that is it for the show today, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see what baseball throws at us tomorrow. Thanks, and bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.